The Patek Philippe Ref. 1,518, on Harrison Belfort's wrist, was worth more than the entire building Chloe lived in. When it vanished, the music in the ballroom didn't stop, but Chloe's heart did. She stood surrounded by the city's elite, trembling as Harrison, a man who could destroy companies with a whisper, pointed a manicured finger directly at her face. "Search her," he barked, his voice slicing through the crowd. "That girl is a thief." But as security grabbed her arms and the room fell silent, Chloe didn't beg for mercy. She looked the billionaire dead in the eye, tears streaming down her face, and whispered one word that would shatter his empire more than any scandal ever could. She didn't say, "I'm innocent." She said, "Dad." The air in the obsidian room of the Hotel Beaumont smelled of old money, chilled lilies, and fear. Chloe Reynolds adjusted the collar of her starch-stiff uniform, trying to make herself invisible. It was her third double shift in a row, and the blisters on her heels were throbbing in time with the string quartet playing in the corner. Tonight was the engagement party for Harrison Belfort and Vanessa Kensington. Harrison was a titan of industry real estate, tech, shipping if it made money. Belfort owned it. He was 48, handsome in a terrifying, predatory way, with silver fox hair and eyes like chipped ice. Vanessa, 15 years his junior, was a former runway model with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She floated through the room in a red Versace gown that looked like liquid ruby. "Champagne, sir?" Chloe asked, keeping her eyes lowered as she approached the VIP booth. Harrison didn't even look at her. He was too busy laughing at a joke made by a senator sitting across from him. He waved his hand dismissively, his wrist flashing under the chandelier. Chloe caught the glint of the watch. It was legendary in the city, a vintage Patek Philippe, rumored to have belonged to European royalty. He never took it off. "Just leave the bottle," Harrison said, his voice a deep baritone that commanded immediate obedience. As Chloe reached over to place the crystal flute on the table, Vanessa shifted abruptly, her elbow knocking into Chloe's arm. The tray wobbled. A single drop of condensation fell onto Harrison's pristine Italian suit jacket. The table went silent. Harrison slowly turned his head. The laughter died in the room as if someone had cut a power cable. He looked at the tiny wet spot on his shoulder, then up at Chloe. I am so sorry, sir," Chloe stammered, reaching for a napkin. "I can fix." "Don't touch me," Harrison said softly. It was worse than if he had shouted, "Get out of my sight. Send a competent server." "Harrison, darling, let it go," Vanessa purred, though her eyes were gleaming with amusement. "She's just a clumsy girl. Probably never seen a suit that costs more than her education." Chloe retreated, cheeks burning, retreating to the service station. Her hands were shaking so badly she nearly dropped the tray. She needed this job. Her tuition at the community college was overdue, and her grandmother's medication wasn't covered by insurance. She couldn't get fired, not tonight. 30 minutes passed. Chloe tried to stay on the other side of the ballroom, serving the less important guests. She was just beginning to think she had escaped the worst of it when the music stopped abruptly. The house lights flickered up to full brightness, killing the mood. The head of security, a mountain of a man named Mr. Henderson, walked to the center of the floor, but it was Harrison who commanded attention. He stood on the raised VIP platform, his face a mask of fury. He held up his left wrist. It was bare. "Lock the doors," Harrison announced. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried to the back of the room. "Nobody leaves." "My watch is gone." A gasp rippled through the crowd. "It was on my wrist 30 minutes ago," Harrison continued, his eyes scanning the room like a searchlight. "And only one person has been close enough to touch me." Chloe felt the blood drain from her face. She saw Vanessa whisper something in Harrison's ear, pointing a manicured finger across the room, directly at the service station. Harrison's gaze snapped to Chloe. "You," he said. The walk across the ballroom floor felt like a march to the gallows. 2 security guards flanked Chloe, gripping her upper arms tight enough to bruise. Guests parted like the Red Sea, whispering, judging. "She looks the type," a woman in pearls whispered. "The help always get greedy," a man chuckled. They shoved Chloe to the foot of the stairs leading to Harrison's booth. She looked up. From this angle, he looked like a giant. "I didn't take it," Chloe said, her voice trembling. "Mr. Belfort, I swear, I haven't been near you since you spilled champagne on me." Harrison cut her off, descending the stairs one slowly. A classic pickpocket trick. Create a distraction, bump the mark, lift the goods. "You're good, but you're not that good." "I'm not a thief," Chloe cried out. "Please, check the cameras." The cameras in the VIP booth were disabled for privacy. Vanessa interjected smoothly, sipping her drink. "Convenient for you, isn't it?" "Empty your pockets," Mr. Henderson barked. "I don't have pockets," Chloe said, holding out her apron. "Just this." Henderson snatched the apron from her waist. He turned it upside down and shook it violently. Pens, a notepad, and a bottle opener clattered onto the parquet floor. And then, with a heavy thud, something gold and heavy hit the wood. The Patek Philippe. The silence was deafening. Chloe stared at the watch, her mouth open in horror. "No, that's impossible. I didn't put that there. Someone planted it." Harrison laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. He bent down and picked up the watch, inspecting it for scratches. "Planted it? You think one of my guests, people worth millions, decided to frame a waitress for the sport of it?" He stepped closer to her, invading her personal space. He smelled of expensive scotch and ruthlessness. "You are a parasite," Harrison spat. "You people look at what we have, and you think you're entitled to a piece of it just because you serve us drinks. Do you know what I do to parasites?" "Harrison, call the police," Vanessa said, looking at her nails. "Don't waste your breath." "Oh, the police are coming," Harrison said, his eyes never leaving Chloe's. "But first, I want everyone here to see you for what you are. A common criminal, a nobody." He turned to the crowd. "Let this be a lesson. This is what happens when you let charity cases into the Beaumont. They bite the hand that feeds them." Tears blurred Chloe's vision. The injustice burned in her throat like acid. She looked at Vanessa. The woman was smiling a tiny, triumphant smirk. Chloe realized then, Vanessa had bumped into her. Vanessa had been the one close to Harrison. Vanessa had slipped the watch into the apron when Chloe retreated to the service station. "But why? Why are you doing this?" Chloe choked out, looking at Harrison. "You have everything. Why do you need to destroy me?" "Because you stole from me," Harrison roared, losing his composure. "And nobody steals from Harrison Belfort. I didn't steal from you." Chloe screamed back, a sudden surge of adrenaline overriding her fear. "I would never steal from you." "Liar." "I'm not lying." Chloe reached into the hidden inner pocket of her uniform blouse, her own pocket, not the apron. "She has a weapon," Henderson yelled, reaching for his taser. "No." Chloe pulled out a small, worn leather locket. It was cheap, cracked, and older than she was. She held it out like a shield. "I didn't steal your watch," she sobbed, her voice breaking. "I came here to work. I didn't even know it was you until I saw the name on the guest list tonight." Harrison paused, confused by the shift in her tone. "What are you babbling about? Look at it." Chloe thrust the locket toward him. Harrison hesitated. The raw desperation in her voice unsettled him. He snatched the locket from her hand. "Harrison, don't touch that filth," Vanessa warned, her voice suddenly sharp. "Just have her arrested." But Harrison ignored her. He flicked the locket open with his thumb. Inside was a small, faded photograph. It was a Polaroid from the late 90s. It showed a young, smiling woman with sun-bleached hair, sitting on the hood of a red convertible. She was laughing, holding a baby, and next to her, with his arm draped possessively around her shoulders, was a man, a young Harrison Belfort. Harrison froze. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. He looked at the photo, then at the crying girl in front of him, then back at the photo. "Where did you get this?" he whispered. His voice was no longer booming. It was hollow. "My mother gave it to me," Chloe whispered. "Before she died." Harrison looked up, his face pale. "Isabella?" "Yes," Chloe said. "Isabella Reynolds. She never told you about me, because your father paid her to leave. He told her you didn't want the baby. He told her you called it a mistake." Chloe wiped her eyes, standing tall for the first time. I didn't steal your watch, Harrison, she said, her voice ringing in the silent ballroom. I didn't steal it, Dad. A glass shattered somewhere in the back of the room, but no one turned to look. All eyes were glued to the drama, unfolding at the foot of the stairs. Harrison felt as if he had been punched in the gut. He stared at the girl, Chloe. He looked at her eyes. Blue, not just blue, but that specific, icy shade of gray blue that he saw in the mirror every morning. He looked at the shape of her jaw, the way she held her chin up in defiance. It was like looking at a ghost. Isabella is dead? Harrison asked, his voice barely audible. 3 years ago, Chloe said, her voice hard. Cancer. She worked 2 jobs until the day she couldn't stand up anymore. She never took a dime from you. She raised me on her own. Lies, Vanessa shrieked, breaking the spell. She rushed down the stairs, grabbing Harrison's arm. Harrison, look at her. She's a grifter. This is the oldest trick in the book. She probably photoshopped that picture. She stole the watch, got caught, and now she's trying to blackmail you with some sob story. Harrison looked at Vanessa, then back at the picture. It wasn't photoshopped. He remembered that day. He remembered the car, a vintage Mustang he had rented for a weekend in Malibu. He remembered the way Isabella smelled like vanilla and sea salt. He remembered loving her with a ferocity that had terrified his wealthy, uptight parents. Harrison. Vanessa pulled at his arm. The police are here. Give them the thief. 2 uniformed officers pushed through the doors, led by the hotel manager. Mr. Belfort, we have the squad car ready. Harrison closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. The anger that had fueled him moments ago was gone, replaced by a cold, confusing dread. He looked at the watch in his hand, the evidence. Then he looked at Chloe, who was shaking, terrified that she had just played her last card and lost. Officer, Harrison said, turning to the police. Yes, Mr. Belfort? The officer asked, unhooking his handcuffs. Is this the suspect? Harrison looked at Vanessa. She was nodding vigorously, her eyes wide and desperate. Then he looked at Chloe. No, Harrison said. The room gasped. Excuse me, sir? The officer asked. We were told there was a theft. The watch was found on her. There was a misunderstanding, Harrison said, his voice regaining its steel, though his hands were trembling slightly. I misplaced the watch. It fell into her apron when she bumped into me. It was an accident. Harrison, what are you doing? Vanessa hissed. She humiliated you. Quiet, Vanessa, Harrison snapped. He turned to Henderson. Let her go. Henderson hesitated, then released Chloe's arms. Chloe stumbled forward, rubbing her biceps. She looked at Harrison, confusion warring with relief. I don't want your charity, Chloe said quietly. I didn't steal it. I know, Harrison said. It was the first time he had spoken to her as a human being. We need to talk. In private. I have nothing to say to you, Chloe said. You called me a thief. You tried to ruin my life in front of half the city, just like your family ruined my mother's. She turned to leave. Wait. Harrison stepped forward, desperation cracking his composure. Please, if you are who you say you are, if you're Isabella's daughter, I need to know. Why? Chloe challenged him. So you can write a check and make me go away too? No, Harrison said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a silk handkerchief. He hesitated, then offered it to her. Because if you're telling the truth, then my entire life for the last 25 years has been a lie. He turned to the crowd. The party is over. Everyone out. Now. As the guests began to murmur and shuffle toward the exits, Vanessa stood frozen. Her face had lost its color. She wasn't looking at Harrison. She was looking at Chloe with a mixture of pure hatred and fear. Chloe caught that look. And suddenly, a new piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Vanessa hadn't just planted the watch because she was a snob. She hadn't just bullied Chloe because she was a waitress. You knew, Chloe said, her voice rising over the noise of the departing crowd. She pointed at Vanessa. You knew who I was. Harrison turned slowly to his fiancée. What did she say? She's crazy, Vanessa laughed nervously. Harrison, let's go upstairs. You're stressed. When I applied for this job, Chloe said, stepping closer to Vanessa, I had to submit a full background check. Birth certificate. Mother's name. Father's name, even though it's blank on my papers. But the HR manager told me my application was flagged by the executive office for review. Chloe looked at Harrison. Who reviews the staff lists for the VIP events, Harrison? Harrison stared at Vanessa. You handle the event staffing, Vanessa. You insisted on hand-picking the servers for the Obsidian room tonight. Vanessa took a step back. I just wanted everything to be perfect. You saw the name, Harrison said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Reynolds. You saw her mother was Isabella Reynolds. It's a common name, Vanessa cried. You knew, Harrison said, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. That's why you were sitting so close to me. That's why you bumped her. That's why you pointed her out immediately. Harrison grabbed Vanessa's wrist. You weren't trying to catch a thief. You were trying to frame my daughter to get her fired and arrested before I could figure out who she was. She's not your daughter, Vanessa screamed, pulling her hand away. She's a gold-digging waitress. We're going to find out, Harrison said. He turned to Henderson. Take a sample of my DNA, and take hers. He nodded at Chloe. Send it to the private lab. I want results in an hour. Pay them triple. Harrison, you can't be serious, Vanessa pleaded. And keep Vanessa here. Harrison commanded the security guards. If she tries to leave the hotel, arrest her for the theft of the watch. After all, she's the only other person who touched it. As the guards surrounded Vanessa, Harrison turned back to Chloe. The room was empty now, save for the security team and the ghosts of the past. Come with me, Harrison said, his voice softening. Please. Chloe looked at the man she had hated her whole life, the man she had dreamed of yelling at, the man who was currently looking at her like she was the only thing that mattered in the world. 1 hour, Chloe said. I'll give you 1 hour, and then I'm gone. The elevator ride to the penthouse was silent, a vertical shot up 50 floors that made Chloe's ears pop. She stood in the corner of the velvet-lined car, clutching her old denim jacket around her uniform. Harrison stood near the doors, watching the floor numbers climb, his reflection in the brass paneling looking like a man waking up from a long coma. When the doors slid open, Chloe stepped into a world she had only seen in magazines. The penthouse wasn't a home, it was a museum. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, a city Harrison Belfort owned a significant chunk of. The furniture was stark, modern, and terrified of being touched. Can I get you anything? Harrison asked, his voice echoing in the vast, open space. Water? Food? I can have the chef wake up and… I'm not hungry, Chloe said, cutting him off. She felt small in this room, but she refused to act small. I just want to know the truth. You said your father paid my mother off, but Mom told me. She hesitated, her voice trembling. What did she tell you? Harrison walked over to a sideboard and poured himself a glass of water, his hand shaking slightly. She told me you chose the company, Chloe said. She said you were young, ambitious, and that a pregnant girlfriend from the wrong side of the tracks was a liability you couldn't afford. She said you signed the check yourself. Harrison slammed the glass down so hard water sloshed onto the polished mahogany. I never signed a check. I never knew. He turned to her, his eyes blazing with a mix of fury and grief. Isabella disappeared. One day she was there. We were planning a trip to the coast. And the next day, her apartment was empty. No note. No phone call. I looked for her for 2 years, Chloe. 2 years. He walked over to a massive bookshelf and pulled on a false spine of a leather-bound encyclopedia. A hidden safe clicked open. From it, he didn't pull money or jewels, but a stack of yellowing papers. Private investigator reports. He tossed them onto the coffee table. Read them, Harrison commanded gently. Hiring PIs in 3 states. Checking hospitals, checking morgues. I thought she was dead. My father told me she had run off with an ex-boyfriend. He said she played me. Chloe slowly picked up the top file. It was dated 24 years ago. Subject: Isabella Reynolds. Status: negative trace. The desperation in the reports was palpable. There were notes in the margins in Harrison's handwriting. Check again. Offer double. Chloe felt a wall inside her chest begin to crumble. She had grown up hating this man, fueled by her mother's silent sorrow. But looking at these papers, she realized her mother had been lied to as well. Grandfather, Chloe whispered. He played both of you. He was a ruthless man, Harrison said, sitting heavily on the sofa, looking suddenly old. He cared about the Belfort legacy above all else. He must have threatened her. He probably told her I would be disinherited, or that he'd ruin her family if she didn't leave. He told her you'd take the baby, Chloe said, the memory of her mother's late-night confessions surfacing. That's what she was most afraid of. She said a rich man can buy any judge. She ran to protect me from you. Harrison buried his face in his hands. My God. All this time. Just then, Harrison's phone buzzed on the table. It was the lab. Harrison froze. He looked at Chloe. The air in the room grew heavy, charged with the electricity of a life-changing moment. Answer it, Chloe said. Harrison swiped the screen and put it on speaker. Mr. Belfort, a clinical voice said. We ran the rapid sequence markers you requested. It's a 99.998% match. Harrison let out a breath that sounded like a sob. He looked at Chloe, really looked at her, and saw the daughter he had been mourning for a quarter of a century. She's mine? She is your biological daughter, sir. Harrison ended the call. He stood up and took a step toward her, his arms slightly open, but he stopped, respecting the invisible barrier between them. I know I can't undo the last 24 years, Harrison said, his voice thick with emotion. I know I'm a stranger to you. I know I accused you of being a thief tonight. But Chloe, I want to fix this. I want to give you everything you were denied. Chloe looked at the billionaire. She thought about her student loans, the eviction notice on her apartment door, her empty fridge. Then she thought about the pride in her mother's eyes when she worked double shifts to buy Chloe a prom dress. I don't want your money, Harrison, Chloe said. I'm studying forensic accounting. I'm 1 semester away from graduating. I've made it this far on my own. Forensic accounting? Harrison smiled, a genuine, bewildered smile. You like catching financial criminals? I like finding the truth hidden in the numbers, Chloe replied. Numbers don't lie. People do. You're definitely a Belfort. Harrison chuckled softly. Suddenly, the elevator doors chimed. Harrison frowned. I didn't authorize anyone. The doors slid open, and Vanessa Kensington walked in. She wasn't in handcuffs. She was flanked by 2 men in expensive suits, lawyers, and shockingly, Raymond Geller, the chairman of the Belfort Board of Directors. What is the meaning of this? Harrison demanded, stepping in front of Chloe protectively. Vanessa, I told security to hold you. Vanessa smiled, but it was a jagged, dangerous thing. Oh, Harry. You really shouldn't have underestimated me. You think a couple of rent-a-cops can hold the future Mrs. Belfort? Ex-future, Harrison corrected. Get out of my house. It's not your house anymore, Harrison, Raymond Geller said, stepping forward. He was a corpulent man with eyes like beads. We've invoked Article 15 of the company charter. Emergency removal of the CEO due to mental instability and reckless conduct. What? Harrison laughed incredulously. I lost a watch. That's not reckless conduct. No, Vanessa interjected, holding up her phone. But assaulting your fiancé, kidnapping a member of the staff, and having a psychotic break in front of the city's elite is. She tapped the screen. A video started playing. It was a recording of the confrontation in the ballroom, but it was edited. It showed Harrison screaming. It showed him grabbing the locket, but it cut out Chloe's defense. It made him look like a deranged tyrant attacking a helpless girl. The video is already on TMZ, Vanessa said sweetly. Belfort stock is down 12% in after-hours trading. The board has voted. You're out, Harrison. Pending a psychiatric evaluation. You frame me. Harrison snarled, stepping toward her. Careful, one of the lawyers warned. Touch her, and you'll go to jail tonight. Vanessa looked past Harrison to Chloe. And as for you, the little stray, get out. Security will escort you off the premises. If you ever come near Harrison or this building again, I'll have you arrested for trespassing and harassment. She's my daughter, Harrison roared. Prove it, Vanessa countered. The lab results? Private facility, easy to challenge in court. By the time you get a legal paternity test, I'll have stripped your assets so bare there won't be anything left for her to inherit. She turned to the lawyers. Throw them out. It was raining when they were shoved out of the service entrance of the Hotel Beaumont. It was a humiliation unlike anything Harrison Belfort had ever experienced. His accounts were frozen. His access cards were deactivated. His car was locked in the garage. He stood on the wet pavement in a $5,000 suit that was rapidly soaking through, looking at the dirty alleyway. Next to him, Chloe pulled her denim jacket tighter. Well, Chloe said, wiping rain from her eyelashes. Welcome to the real world, Dad. Harrison looked at her, stunned. It was the first time she had called him that. Even in the midst of the disaster, a spark of warmth ignited in his chest. I'm sorry, Harrison muttered. I don't know what to do. I don't have my phone. They took it. I have mine, Chloe said. She pulled out her cracked Android. But we can't call a lawyer. They'll be watching your usual firms. Vanessa has clearly been planning this coup for months. She has the board in her pocket. Raymond Geller, Harrison spat the name. He's been trying to push me out for years. He wants to break up the company and sell the parts. He must have made a deal with Vanessa. We need a place to go, Chloe said. Somewhere they won't look. The Ritz? Harrison suggested. Chloe laughed. You have no credit cards, Harrison. You're broke. We're going to my place. Chloe's apartment was a fourth-floor walk-up in Queens. It smelled of curry from the neighbors and damp plaster. The living room was the size of Harrison's master bathroom closet. Harrison sat on the lumpy futon, looking around at the mismatched furniture, the textbooks stacked on the floor, the framed photo of Isabella on the small TV stand. It's not much, Chloe said, handing him a mug of instant coffee. But the rent is paid. Harrison looked at the photo of Isabella. She did a good job, Chloe. You're resilient. I had to be, Chloe said. She sat on the floor, opening her laptop. Okay. We have a problem. Vanessa and Geller have seized control. They're using the mental instability clause. To fight that, we need proof that you're sane, and proof that they conspired to frame you. They hold all the cards, Harrison said defeatedly. They have the security tapes. They have the servers. They have the hotel servers, Chloe corrected. She began typing furiously. But you said you own the building? Yes, through a holding company. Does the holding company have a separate off-site backup for building maintenance and security logs? For insurance purposes? Harrison looked up, his eyes widening. The Swordfish server. Yes. It's a redundant system located in a data center in New Jersey. It backs up everything in case of a fire or terrorist attack. It's completely separate from the hotel's internal network. Do you know the access codes? Yes. But I can't access it without my BioKey. It's a physical USB drive. It was on my keychain, which is in the penthouse, Chloe said, deflating. No. Harrison smiled grimly. Vanessa thinks she's smart, but she doesn't know about the safe house. Safe house? I keep a go bag in a locker at Grand Central Station. My father taught me that. Always have a way out, he used to say. There's a spare BioKey in there. Chloe slammed her laptop shut. Then we're going to Grand Central. Chloe, it's 2 a.m. We're soaked. I'm a recognizable public figure. Not in that, Chloe said. She went to her closet and pulled out an oversized gray hoodie and a baseball cap. Put this on. Tonight, you're not Harrison Belfort. You're just another guy from Queens. The trip to Grand Central was a blur of subways and shadows. Harrison, who hadn't taken public transit since 1995, looked terrified as they navigated the rattling train car. Chloe stood close to him, guiding him like a parent guiding a child. They reached the lockers. Harrison's hands were shaking as he entered the combination. The locker popped open. Inside was a duffel bag containing cash, a burner phone, and a small silver USB drive. Got it, Harrison exhaled. Hey, you. They spun around. 2 uniformed NYPD officers were walking toward them. Behind them was Mr. Henderson, the head of hotel security. Run, Harrison whispered. No. Chloe grabbed his arm. If we run, we look guilty. Stand your ground. Henderson smirked as he approached. Found them. Good work, officers. Mr. Belfort, Mrs. Kensington, was very worried about you. She filed a missing persons report. She says you're off your medication. I'm not on medication, Harrison said coldly. Sir, please come with us, the officer said, reaching for Harrison. Your fiancé wants to get you help. He's not going anywhere with you. Chloe stepped between them. He hasn't committed a crime. Being in Grand Central isn't illegal. Interfering with a police officer is, Henderson said. He nodded to the cops. Grab the girl too. She's an accomplice. Wait, Harrison said, his voice regaining that command that could silence a boardroom. Henderson, you've worked for me for 10 years. I know about your sick wife. I paid for her surgery last year. Henderson faltered. His eyes darted to the floor. Vanessa promised you a bonus, didn't she? Harrison pressed. She promised you a payout to track me down. But Henderson, look at me. Do you really think she's going to keep you around once she's done with me? She'll cut you loose just like she did me. She has no loyalty. Henderson looked at the USB drive in Harrison's hand. He looked at the cops, who were waiting for his signal. Mr. Belfort. Henderson started. The truth comes out, Henderson, Chloe added. It always does. Do you want to be on the side of the truth, or the side of the woman who frames people? Henderson took a deep breath. He looked at the officers. Actually, I made a mistake. That's not the guy. Mr. Belfort is taller. The officers looked confused. Sir? You said. I said he looked like him, Henderson lied smoothly. But up close? Not him. Sorry to bother you folks. Henderson looked Harrison in the eye. Get out of here, sir. She has a private investigator tracking your phone, but since you don't have it, she's relying on CCTV. I can only stall her for an hour. Thank you, Henderson. Harrison nodded. I won't forget this. Go, Henderson said. They retreated to a 24-hour internet cafe in Koreatown to avoid being tracked at Chloe's apartment. Under the neon glare of gaming monitors, Chloe plugged in the bio key. Access. Granted. Swordfish protocol. Okay. Chloe cracked her knuckles. Let's see what really happened tonight. She pulled up the raw security footage from the Obsidian room. She found the camera angle Vanessa had claimed was disabled. It wasn't. Vanessa had simply bribed the operator to say it was. On the screen, grainy but clear, they watched the truth. They saw Chloe bump the table. They saw Harrison turn away. And then, they saw Vanessa's hand move. Swift as a viper, she slid the watch off the table and dropped it into the front pocket of Chloe's apron while Chloe was apologizing. Got her, Chloe whispered. Wait, Harrison pointed at the screen. Rewind. Look at the timestamp. 8:14 p.m. Yeah? Now look at this other file. Harrison pointed to a log titled Outgoing Data Transfer. At 8:15 p.m., 1 minute after she planted the watch, there was a massive data packet sent from my private terminal in the penthouse to an external IP address. She needed you out of the room, Chloe realized. The watch wasn't just about getting me fired. It was a distraction. She needed to create a scene downstairs so that no one would notice she had authorized a remote transfer upstairs. She's stealing the assets, Harrison said, his face paling. She's transferring the liquid capital of Belfort Enterprises to offshore accounts. That transfer, that's nearly $400 million. Can we trace the IP? Chloe asked. She ran a trace. The cursor blinked. Cayman Islands, Chloe read. A shell company called Red Queen Holdings. Red Queen? Harrison scoffed. Subtle, Harrison. Look at the authorized signatory for the transfer, Chloe said, pointing at the bottom of the log. Harrison leaned in. The digital signature wasn't Vanessa's. It was Harrison Belfort. "I didn't sign that," Harrison said. "She has your passwords," Chloe said. "She's using your digital identity. She's not just stealing the money. She's making it look like you are embezzling it. That fits her narrative. You're unstable. You're stealing the company funds before you get fired. If she pulls this off," Harrison said, "I don't just lose the company. I go to federal prison for massive corporate fraud." "We have the footage of the watch," Chloe said. "That proves she's a liar. But it doesn't prove she made the transfer." "We need to catch her in the act," Harrison said. "She can't move that much money instantly. It takes banking clearance. It usually clears at 9 a.m. when the markets open." Harrison looked at the clock on the wall. It was 5:30 a.m. "We have 3.5 hours, Harrison said. "We have to stop that transfer." "How?" Chloe asked. "We can't do it remotely. She's locked you out of the admin privileges. We have to do it physically," Harrison said, a dangerous light entering his eyes. "The transfer requires a final authorization key. It's a physical token kept in the vault at the Belfort headquarters. Vanessa will be there at 9 a.m. to insert it and finalize the theft. So we have to get to the vault first," Chloe said. "The Belfort Tower is the most secure building in the city," Harrison said. "Biometric scanners, armed guards, silent alarms. And right now, my face is on the do not admit list." Chloe smiled, and for a moment, she looked exactly like the young Harrison Belfort, who had built an empire from nothing. "Good thing I know how to be invisible," Chloe said. "I've been invisible my whole life. And you? Well, you know the building better than anyone." "It's a heist," Harrison said, almost laughing. "I'm going to break into my own building." "Not alone," Chloe said. "Partners?" She held out her hand. Harrison looked at his daughter's hand rough from work. Strong, capable. He took it. "Partners. The plan." At 7 a.m., the morning shift of the cleaning crew arrived at the Belfort Tower. They wore gray jumpsuits and pushed heavy carts of supplies. Among them was a young woman with a cap pulled low, and an older man with silver hair tucked under a beanie, his posture stooped. Chloe had borrowed 2 uniforms from a friend who worked the agency. They breezed past the front desk security. "Morning, fellas," Chloe mumbled, flashing a badge she had counterfeited using the cafe's printer and a glue stick. They were in. But the vault was on the 60th floor, in the executive suite, which was currently crawling with Vanessa's private security. "Service elevator," Harrison whispered. "It bypasses the lobby checks on the upper floors." They rode up in silence, the smell of industrial cleaner filling the small metal box. "If we get caught," Harrison said, "I want you to say I forced you, say I kidnapped you." "Shut up, Dad," Chloe said. "We're not getting caught." The elevator opened on the 60th floor. The hallway was quiet. The executive suite was at the end of the hall. They pushed the cleaning cart forward. As they neared the double glass doors, they saw him. Raymond Geller was standing by the receptionist's desk, arguing with the technician. "I don't care about the firewall," Geller was shouting. "Just make sure the line to the Caymans is stable." "We have to get past him," Harrison whispered. Chloe looked at the cart. She grabbed a spray bottle of ammonia and a bottle of bleach. "Don't mix those," Harrison hissed. "That makes mustard gas." "Exactly," Chloe grinned. "We need a distraction." She poured a small amount of both into a bucket on the cart. Immediately, a noxious, white fume began to rise. Chloe kicked the cart hard, sending it rolling down the hallway directly toward Geller. "Gas leak," Chloe screamed, disguising her voice. "Evacuate. Chemical spill." Geller turned, saw the smoking cart, and smelled the burning chemical odor. Panic ensued. The receptionist screamed. Geller covered his mouth and ran for the emergency stairs. The security guards at the door coughed and retreated. "Now," Chloe yelled. Harrison and Chloe sprinted through the haze, holding their breath. They burst into the executive office. The vault was behind a painting of Harrison's father. Harrison ripped the painting off the wall. "They haven't changed the code yet," Harrison prayed. He punched in a sequence, 052499, Chloe's birthday, she realized with a jolt. The heavy steel door hissed open. Inside, on a velvet pedestal, sat the master key, a diamond-encrusted USB drive. Harrison grabbed it. Got it. Harrison? They turned. Vanessa was standing in the doorway of the office. She wasn't coughing. She was holding a small, silver pistol. I wondered when you'd show up, Vanessa said, her voice calm and terrifying. I knew you were too arrogant to just run away. She walked into the room, leveling the gun at Chloe's chest. Give me the key, Harrison, she said, or the waitress dies. Don't do it, Chloe said, staring down the barrel. Vanessa, this is over, Harrison said, holding the key up. The gas alarm has triggered the automatic police dispatch. They'll be here in 5 minutes. 5 minutes is all I need to initiate the transfer and leave via the helipad. Vanessa smiled. Give me the key. Harrison looked at Chloe. He looked at the key to his fortune, his life's work, his power. He looked back at Vanessa. You want the money? Harrison asked. It's what I deserve, Vanessa hissed. I wasted 3 years on you. Fine, Harrison said. He threw the key. But he didn't throw it to Vanessa. He threw it at the floor-to-ceiling window behind her. The heavy drive hit the reinforced glass with a clink, but didn't break it. However, it bounced and slid under a heavy marble credenza. Vanessa's eyes darted to where the key slid. In that split second of distraction, Chloe lunged. She didn't go for the gun. She went for the cleaning spray bottle she had tucked in her belt. She sprayed a stream of industrial glass cleaner directly into Vanessa's eyes. Vanessa screamed, blindingly firing the gun. The bullet shattered a vase, missing Harrison by inches. Harrison tackled Vanessa, knocking the gun from her hand. It's over, Harrison yelled, pinning her down. Get off me, Vanessa shrieked, thrashing. You're nothing. You're finished. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting louder. Chloe picked up the gun with a trembling hand, pointing it at the floor. She walked over to the credenza and retrieved the key. She walked over to the computer terminal on the desk. The screen read, Insert master key to finalize transfer. Chloe inserted the key. What are you doing? Vanessa sneered from the floor. You don't know the password. Chloe looked at the prompt. Password hint. What matters most? Harrison looked up from the floor. He hadn't set that password. His father had. Years ago. It's legacy, Harrison said. Try legacy. Chloe typed it. Access denied. Try money. Vanessa laughed. Knowing your family. Chloe looked at Harrison. She thought about the photo in the locket. She thought about the letters. She thought about the man who had risked everything to break into a building to save his name, not for the money, but for the truth. No, Chloe said. It's not legacy. She typed, ISABELLA. The screen turned green. Access granted. Transfer cancelled. Funds returned to primary account. Harrison stared at Chloe, tears forming in his eyes. He knew, Harrison whispered. My father knew I loved her. He used her name as the failsafe. The doors burst open. SWAT team members poured in. Police! Drop the weapon. Chloe dropped the gun and raised her hands. Harrison raised his hands. Arrest her! Vanessa screamed, her eyes red and swollen. She has a gun. He tried to kill me. The lead officer looked at the scene. He looked at the billionaire in a janitor's uniform, the girl with her hands up, and the woman screaming on the floor. Then, a man in a suit walked in behind the SWAT team. It was the district attorney. Actually, the DA said, holding up a tablet. We received a very interesting email an hour ago from a Chloe Reynolds containing security footage of a theft and digital logs of attempted embezzlement. The DA looked at Vanessa. Vanessa Kensington. You are under arrest for grand larceny, fraud, and filing a false police report. As they handcuffed Vanessa, she looked at Harrison with pure venom. You'll never be happy, you're damaged goods. Harrison stood up, dusting off his janitor jumpsuit. He walked over to Chloe and put his arm around her. I have my daughter, Harrison said. I'm the richest man in the world. The trial of Vanessa Kensington was the media event of the decade, but Chloe Reynolds didn't watch it from the gallery. She read about it in the papers like everyone else, sitting in the library of the university where she was finally finishing her degree. The headlines were brutal. The Gold Digger's Downfall, Belfort ex-fiancé, sentenced to 15 years, the $400 million betrayal. Harrison had offered to hire the best lawyers to ensure Vanessa got the maximum sentence, but Chloe had asked him not to. She's already lost, Chloe had told him. She lost the moment she thought money was worth more than people. Let the courts handle her. We have better things to do. And they did. 6 months had passed since the night in the Obsidian Room. In that time, the landscape of Harrison Belfort's life had been bulldozed and rebuilt. The first casualty was the ivory tower culture of Belfort Enterprises. Raymond Geller was fired, stripped of his pension, and was currently facing his own SEC investigation. Harrison had spent weeks personally apologizing to staff members who had been mistreated or ignored, starting with the housekeeping team at the Hotel Beaumont. But the biggest change was in the penthouse. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Chloe walked into Harrison's office at the top of the tower. She wasn't wearing a waitress uniform, nor was she wearing designer couture. She was wearing a sharp, navy blazer and jeans, the uniform of a woman who had work to do. "You wanted to see me, Dad?" The word still felt new on her tongue, like testing a loose tooth, but it no longer hurt. Harrison swiveled in his chair. He looked different. The predatory edge was gone, replaced by a calm, quiet strength. He had stopped dyeing his hair. The silver temples made him look distinguished, not old. "I have a graduation present for you," Harrison said, standing up. "Graduation isn't for another week." Chloe smiled, placing a stack of files on his desk. "And I told you, no cars. I can't park a Ferrari in Queens." "It's not a car," Harrison said. He picked up a small, velvet box from his desk. Chloe froze. It was the box for the Patek Philippe. "I can't take that," Chloe said, stepping back. "Harrison, that watch. It's the reason this whole nightmare started. It's bad luck." "Open it," Harrison urged gently. Chloe took the box. It felt heavy. She clicked the latch. Inside sat the gold ref. 1,518. It was polished, immaculate, ticking with the steady heartbeat of a masterpiece. But something was different. The leather strap had been replaced with a softer, vintage band. And there was a piece of paper folded underneath it. Chloe unfolded the paper. It was a deed of trust. "I don't understand," she said. "I'm not giving you the watch to wear," Harrison said. "I'm giving you what it represents. I've liquidated a significant portion of my personal collection, excluding this piece to fund the Isabella Initiative." He walked around the desk and stood next to her, looking out at the city. "It's a scholarship and legal defense fund for single mothers working in the service industry," Harrison explained. "It covers tuition, childcare, and legal aid for women who are being bullied by powerful men. Women like your mother." Tears pricked Chloe's eyes. "You named it after her." "It's the least I could do," Harrison said softly. "I can't bring her back, Chloe. I can't unmiss your childhood. I can't undo the lonely nights she spent worrying about rent. But I can make sure that no other woman has to go through what she did." He pointed to the watch. "Turn it over." Chloe flipped the watch. On the gold case back, where there used to be a blank space, there was now a fresh engraving. To Chloe. "I lost time. Now, I'm making it up. Love, Dad." "The watch is yours," Harrison said. "Keep it. Sell it. Give it away. It doesn't matter. It's just metal and gears. You are the only thing of value in this room." Chloe put the watch in her pocket. She stepped forward and hugged her father. It wasn't the stiff, awkward hug of 6 months ago. It was a real embrace. "Thank you," she whispered into his shoulder. "There's one more thing," Harrison said, pulling away and checking his own wrist, which now sported a simple, functional digital watch. "We have an event tonight. Not another engagement party, I hope," Chloe joked. "No," Harrison laughed. "It's the opening night of the Isabella Initiative Gala, and I'm not hosting it." He looked at her pointedly. "I'm just the donor," Harrison said. "You're the president of the foundation. You're hosting it." The obsidian room looked different that night. The stiff, cold atmosphere of the engagement party was gone. The room was filled with warmth, laughter, and a diverse crowd: business leaders, scholarship recipients, community organizers. Chloe stood on the stage where Harrison had once stood and accused her of theft. She wore a simple white dress that reminded Harrison, with a pang of heartache, of the woman in the Polaroid. She adjusted the microphone. The room went silent. But this time, it wasn't a silence of fear. It was a silence of respect. 6 months ago, Chloe began, her voice steady and clear. I stood in this room and was told I didn't belong. I was told I was a nobody. I was told that my value was determined by the uniform I wore and the people I served. She looked out at the crowd. She saw her friends from the catering crew, now guests of honor. She saw Henderson, who had been promoted to head of corporate security. And she saw Harrison, standing in the front row, beaming with a pride that outshone every diamond in the room. But I learned something that night, Chloe continued. I learned that the truth is the only currency that matters. You can have all the money in the world, you can buy buildings and silence critics, but you cannot buy integrity, and you cannot buy family. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the old, battered locket. She held it up. My mother, Isabella, didn't leave me a fortune, Chloe said, her voice catching slightly. She left me this, a picture of love, a reminder of who I am, and because of her strength, I found my way back to the other half of that picture. She smiled at Harrison. Tonight, we are launching the Isabella Initiative, Chloe announced, so that no voice is ever silenced by the weight of a wallet again, so that the help are recognized as the humans they are. The applause that erupted was deafening. It wasn't the polite golf clap of the elite. It was raucous, genuine, and filled with hope. As the music started, not a string quartet, but a lively jazz band, Harrison walked up to the stage. He offered his hand to Chloe. May I have this dance, Madam President? He asked. Chloe looked at his hand. The last time he had reached for her, it was to accuse her. Now, it was to support her. You may, she said. As they danced in the center of the room, spinning under the crystal chandeliers, the guests watched in awe. They didn't see a billionaire and a former waitress. They didn't see a scandal. They saw a father and a daughter, making up for lost time, one step at a time. And on Chloe's wrist, tucked discreetly under her sleeve, the Patek Philippe ticked on. It no longer measured the hours of a shift or the time until a break. It measured a new kind of time. Our time. Wow. From being accused in front of the world to running the empire, Chloe's journey proves that the truth always has a way of coming out, no matter how much money tries to bury it. It's a powerful reminder that your worth isn't defined by your job title or your bank account, but by your integrity. I'd love to know what you think. If you were in Chloe's shoes, would you have forgiven Harrison after he humiliated you, or would you have walked away with the money? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.